All right, guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina, getting ready for our Friday fishing report. That's right, y'all. It is our weekend fishing report, and we're excited here at Hubbard's Marina to tell you all about what's going on now, what's coming up, and more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy our weather update and fishing update and some tips and tricks from our captains and crew here at Hubbard's Marina. We're catching a lot of fish right now. Fishing is going really well for us. Out deep, we're doing real good on some big gag grouper. That's really the focus, but a lot of yellowtail and mutton are around, some big average size of mangrove snapper. Nearshore, we're seeing a lot of those mangroves, a good number of lanes, and the hogfish have heated up. Inshore right now, the redfish numbers are insane around Johns Pass. We're starting to see the sheep's head come in. There's still some snook around, choking clouds of mangrove snappers still too. So a great time of year, this transition period. It's a little bit chillier, it's a little bit drier. Things are changing, changes in the air, fall is in the air, and the fish are excited, we're excited, and hopefully we're gonna see you soon because there's not a lot of people around right now. That's the secret this time of year. There's not a lot of people around. There's not a lot of people on the boats. There's a lot more room to spread out and a lot more time to spend with the captain and crew. So you get a lot more one-on-one experiences, and there's a lot of light load opportunities right now. As far as weather goes right now, we are dealing with a little bit of a confused weather pattern. We had a cold front come down into the area, and then it kind of stalled out on us, unfortunately, and a piece is kind of broke off. So potentially there might be some tropical development off of northeast Florida, but doesn't really look too great right now. It doesn't really look like it's gonna bother us very much right now. More of a moderate wind pattern through the next 7 days. And we are excited because we're coming up on that full moon. That's right, full moon a week from today. Right now we're on that first quarter moon. So it's a little bit of a weaker tide through this weekend, but as the work week progresses, that tidal flow is gonna increase. We're gonna see bigger tidal swings, and as we move into that full moon a week from today. So fishing should get really, really good, and the weather's gonna calm down a little bit as we move into the work week too. But overall, looking real good right now for a chance to spend some time out here, enjoying some fun in the sun and catching plenty of fish. The inshore bite right now, like I mentioned earlier, we're really focused on the redfish around Johns Pass. There's a ton of these little, what we call rat reds, the little 15 to 24-inch fish. A ton of them, super active. Really through the early to mid-morning is a good time to get them, but around dusk you're seeing a lot of them through the nighttime around dock lights and bridge lights. The bigger fish we're seeing mostly in the back bay. You see a few big ones moving through, but it's mostly cut bait. We're finding the big ones on. Cut pinfish seems to be a great option right now. Also, we're seeing them on the live shrimp. The live shrimp is a good one for the numbers of the rat reds. We're seeing some white bait action on the redfish too. There's a lot of white bait around. As you can see, that pelican diving behind me. There's a lot of white bait in the area, which has attracted the jack crevalles. We're starting to see schools of jack crevalle moving through the area, so that's exciting. Always a good additional bonus to our inshore fishery. We're seeing the trout move. Really actively feeding well. The trout are moving a little bit shallower. We're seeing them a lot around dock lights and bridge lights, especially on that recent new moon. Last week, we saw a lot of action on those dock lights and bridge lights around Johns Pass. Snook action. Still quite a few snook out on the beaches and in the passes, but the numbers are starting to dwindle down a little bit. Those concentrations are definitely getting smaller. A lot of those fish are starting to transition more to the back protected bay waters, especially as photo periods get smaller. It gets a little bit cooler. We start to get these cold fronts. Those fish sense it and they start moving back. So those snook are starting to recede to the back protected bay waters. Also mangrove snapper. We got a lot of mangrove snapper around the docks, piers, bridges, jetties, rock piles, but they are starting to thin out too, and the big ones move offshore, the smaller ones recede back into the mangroves. Sheep's head are starting to get more thick around our docks, piers, bridges, jetties, all those areas where mangrove snapper have been chilling all summer long. Now we're starting to see more sheep's head around those areas. So as the mangrove snappers thin out, the sheep's head get thicker. And also we're still seeing a few pompano around. Flounder bite's been going pretty good too, so some opportunities inshore. Nearshore right now, you're going to hear from Captain Frank briefly, but really focused on those lane snapper. The lane snapper bite has been really good for us. We're catching a ton of lane snapper, and we've heard rumors that potentially we're going to see another early year closure for those lane snapper. The quota is looking pretty full already, just looking at the first 6 months of data. So because of that, we're probably going to see a quota closure coming on lane snapper sometime October, November, December. So we want to make sure we're getting out there and taking advantage of those lane snapper while they're still open for harvest. Mangrove snapper has been going pretty good. There's no worries on the mangrove snapper, and we're catching quite a few of them even near shore, and even pretty shallow near shore. So the mangrove snapper bite's been pretty good. And then also the hogfish have started to pick up. We're not catching tons of hogfish every trip, but a handful of trips have had really good hogfish catches, and we're definitely seeing more and more hogfish. The bite should be continuing to pick up as that water temperature cools down. We get more of these cold fronts that further concentrate those fish around the structures. Then as we work our way offshore into deeper water, man, the mangrove snapper bite right now out there in deeper water is awesome. And the average size of mangrove snapper has really jumped up for us. Plus, we're seeing a lot of Kubera snapper right now, which is kind of unique. When I say a lot of Kubera snapper, I know of 6 that were caught recently in the last the last 5 to 7 days, which is a lot. 6 is a lot for this area. So the fact we're seeing a lot of Kubera snapper is an interesting thing, along with big mangrove snapper. We're seeing a lot of yellowtail, averaging anywhere from 70 to about 200 yellowtail on our long range 39-hour trips. The 12-hour extreme is getting some big yellowtail. We're seeing a lot of mutton too, anywhere from 5, 10, 15, even 20 mutton per long range 39 and 44-hour trip. So that's really crazy as well. Plus, on top of all that, big vermilions, almacos, porgies, a lot of other heads and tails mixed in with big gag grouper. That's right, we're seeing a lot of gags. The triggerfish bite has been really good. We're seeing a lot of scamp grouper too. So you've got grouper, you've got snapper, you've got triggerfish, you've got heads and tails. A lot of fish to go out there and catch. As I mentioned this morning in the 39-hour video that came back in yesterday, Thursday, if you missed it, this time of year, so many people don't bother coming fishing because red snapper's closed. And they're like, well, if red snapper's not open, I'm not going fishing. Well, you're missing out. All of red snapper season, we run 45, 50 people. Now the 39-hour has 20, 25, 30 people, super light loads, and we're still catching tons of fish. Everything is open right now except for those red snapper, red grouper, and amberjack. So get out there and take advantage of a killer gag grouper, the big mangroves, the triggerfish, the yellowtails, and more that we're seeing out here at Hubbard's Marina. And don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. Hopefully you'll get a chance to come out and see us sometime soon and see why Hubbard's Marina is rated the #1 fishing charter in the country. Also, don't forget, we have lots of good events coming up. Remember, September 29th, we've got Final Friday. September 30th, we're gonna be speaking at noon at St. Pete Fishing Outfitters. October 3rd, we're gonna be speaking at 6 to 8 p.m. at Bartow Ford. October 7th at noon, we're going to be at Safety Harbor's Off the Hook event. October 15th at 2 p.m., we're going to be at Tampa Bass Pro Shops. Every Saturday morning, we've got our Real Animals radio show from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Every Sunday night at 7:30 p.m., we've got our live stream show. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to see you sometime soon at Hubbard's Marina, and we'll see you out there on the water. Thanks for watching. Thanks for enjoying our weekly reports. Hopefully, you enjoy the segments with Frank and Will, and a little bit more in-depth information from those guys too. So have a great day. We'll see you out there on the water.
Hey guys, just want to talk a little bit about that 10-hour trip. We'd love to have you out there Tuesday and Thursday, especially. That's when I'm working. But we're having a good time out there. We're getting some hogfish, yellowtails, mangrove snappers. We're getting a few gags here and there. Not a lot of them, but we are trying to target them, but they're a little difficult this time of year to get in that shallow water. But we are catching some hogfish, and we're happy to see those back. They're not in full force, but the people that are fishing for them the entire time, they are catching them. whether they, you know, some are keepers, some are not. That's how it always goes. But we're definitely getting a few. And also on the half days, we're getting some. But most importantly, on that all day, guys, we have a really light load. And you can spread out throughout the boat. You're not getting tangled with everybody, all, you know, like it is during the summertime. And the fish are coming in more and more each time. So we'd love to have you out there, guys.
All right, we just got back from a 39-hour trip. Just now unloaded all the fish. And overall, we had a little bit of choppy weather out there. We had a cold front stall on us, a little bit of rain, but it didn't really affect the fishing that much. We just had to stay out of the weather for a little while during the day. Overall, good trip. We probably had 25 gags. Good on the muttons again, big mangroves. The bigger mangroves have moved in after the storm. For the fall mangroves have come in, and they're bigger ones. And if you want to target those, I'm generally fishing with heavier line right now, 50 or 60 pound leader. And they'll still bite it, and I like the heavy line because the gag grouper are around as well. And a lot of times you'll land them on the heavier line rather than lose the gag and catch the mangrove. But I'm using a variety of baits for the mangroves. Cut bait, cut bonita, cut blue runner, and always small pinfish work well too. Generally hook size, I use the hook size the size of the bait that you're using. You can use a relatively big hook for a big mangrove snapper, or you can use a smaller hook for them if you're using a small bait. But I'm generally using a big piece of strip bait or a small pinfish for those big mangroves, and you'll get a gag bite in there as well.